What's up, everybody? 32 Icon here. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing well myself. Please go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't already. In good faith that I will continue bringing you great content. Oh, and I'm just another YouTube personality, so take what I say with a grain of salt and do your own research, okay? All right, so listen, before we get into this video about what burns my biscuits, listen, go ahead and pick up your t-shirt. If you haven't already, then honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Email me, 32icon@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, 32icon. All right, get it in. Smalls and mediums are already sold out. Okay, so I'm just trying to take a deep breath so that I can have this conversation without it being so intense on my end, right? Because you're not talking, I'm talking. But you want to know what burns my biscuits? Female sales associates working at local gun stores who are uneducated on firearms. That's what burns my biscuits. Take them out the oven, they're burnt. They're burnt. Because there is nothing that steams me more in the firearms world, I should say, than seeing another woman behind the counter who is there to perpetuate the sex object and selling items to, let's just admit, majority of men, and who has no knowledge whatsoever about firearms. It's baffling to me. And I've kind of touched on this in other videos about, being knowledgeable about the products, or, having a female behind the counter who know what they're talking about. And I didn't go into detail, but I did touch upon it in like earlier videos, like 2 years ago. And what bothers me is that when I go to the gun store, first of all, when I see a female behind the counter, I'm like, yes, okay, exercising your 2A rights, yes. So there's a little bit of jubilee internally, right? But then when I get up there and we have a conversation, I realize that I'm almost embarrassed, okay? And this has happened more often than not. Now, I have gone to local gun stores where there's been like maybe one or two females who actually knew what they were talking about when it came to firearms. But majority of them did not know what they were talking about. And it really bothered me because I came in there to inquire about a firearm that I seen, maybe in SHOT Show or something that has come to the market. And so I'm telling them, hey, this new firearm has come to the market. The manufacturer is blah, blah, blah. Do you have it? And they're like, wait, what do you mean? They haven't released anything. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, that was the old version. I'm talking about the new version. They're like, no, what? Anyway, then what ends up happening is that they don't know the information, and then they have to go to usually another gentleman who's also a sales associate, and then he comes and, by the way, not quite knowledgeable. And then I'm in awe because I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm coming there, I'm going to the range. In between, I'm asking for little things here and there, and I don't have time. Listen, I'm gonna give you a little fun fact about me. Moons ago, I used to sell cars, and I worked for a dealership in this particular state, and the dealership was combined with Audi and Volkswagen, right? German cars. And I didn't want to sell cars, right? I was actually waiting for another job within my career at the time, and I was waiting for the position to open. Anyway, long story short, I did it for about a year, maybe 6 months or so. And I didn't like it, but I was also paid on commission, and I knew that I had to sell and move these cars monthly in order to get a check. So what I had to do was I had to educate myself, right? I had to speak with other sales associates who were top-notch sales associates in the dealership. And eventually I became really good. I was okay in the beginning, but as I started to educate myself, understand the hot buttons for customers, that sales pitch, all that good stuff. I learned it, I perfected it, and then I became really good. And then toward the end of my little car sales career, the Audi manager at the time asked me to stay on because at this point, my job had opened up. I was in my career and I was like, yes, I'm out of here. And he begged me to stay. He offered me the associate sales manager position right under him. And I would have been making a little moolah. And I was like, I don't know, because it would have been more based on commission too. It would have been more than I would have been making at my new position. But my new position was in my career. Anyway, I'm trying to hurry up and get to the point. He said, think about it. So I stayed maybe a couple of more weeks to see if this is something I really wanted to do, because I would have been specifically over Audi, not Volkswagen. I would have been specifically over Audi. And ultimately I ended up leaving. But my point is, I educated myself. I became good at what I did, even though I didn't want to do it. And these clients were coming in asking my opinion. They needed to know, hey, do you have knowledge on this vehicle? What about the warranty? What about the service and parts and all that good stuff? And I had to know Volkswagen in and out, and I had to know Audi in and out, and mainly Volkswagen, because when the Audi customers came in, I'm more of an Audi customer, right? When I go to the gun shop, I already know what I want. I already have the information on it. I already did my background knowledge on it. I'm already educated. I'm just asking you certain questions to see what kind of deal we can work out on this firearm. That's how the Audi customers were. They knew what they wanted. They came in there. They knew whether they wanted to lease it. They knew whether they wanted to, put it on one of their black cars so they could get the credits to go on vacation, but they was going to pay it off afterwards. They just pretty much wanted to know what we could do for them. They already knew what they wanted. I'm like that when I go to the gun store. But there are not a lot of people who are like me. Sometimes when they go to the gun store, they're more like Volkswagen customers, right? They need to know how long the car is going to last. What is the, maintenance on it? How much is it going to cost them a year? Is it safe for their children? How many people do it seat? How does it handle on the road? They need to know all of that information. So when customers come into the gun store, many of them are like Volkswagen customers. They need to know about the firearm. They need to know the reliability. How does it handle? How does it feel ergonomically? Is it safe? Is it a double action, single action? Striker fire? Is it a revolver? What is it going to do? How can it help them to be the best shooter that they're looking to be? And if you're behind the counter, male or female, but worse for females because we already have that stigma, but if you're behind the counter and you don't know what you're talking about, that is a problem for me. Like, you are doing the 2A community a disservice because you're not well educated on the firearms that you're servicing and you're selling. I told myself I wasn't gonna let my biscuits overheat, but listen, you gotta be interested in what you're doing, okay? And I'm not saying this is for every female behind the counter. Clearly not. But there are a large percentage of women who happen to get that job who are not well informed. Now, in that large group of women who get that position, it's really not, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, the firearms community is well male dominated, right? But the women who get that position, majority of them are not educated, from my experience, from what I've encountered, okay? And then there are a handful, again, from my experience, who know what they're talking about. I just want us to do better. That's all. I just want us to do better. Just do better for us as women, right? Knowing what we need to know about a firearm, how it works. Now, granted, listen, I tell y'all all the time, I come on here and I don't know a lot of stuff. I only go by what I know, my experience with that particular firearm or part or accessory. And then you guys sometimes educate me in the comments. Great, wonderful. That very well may be the same situation for anybody working behind the counter. You may not know everything, right? The Audi customers who came in to buy a car knew more than I did. But at the same time, I knew enough to sell them the vehicle. So I wasn't just some smuck trying to sell something that I had no idea about. They'll sniff you out in a second, right? They're not going to want to deal with you. And so I kind of feel that way when I go to the store and I see a female behind the counter. I'm rooting for you internally, but then when I get to talk to you, you're not where you need to be. And so anyway, that's it. This video, let me just end it here. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I just had an experience with this, so that's why it's fresh on the dome, okay? And I wanted to make a video about it because I just want us to do better. That's all. That's all. I want us to do better. All right. So listen, educate yourself, right? Don't perpetuate the stereotype that, you know, we're just a cute face behind the counter. You know, earn it. Educate yourself. Work for it. Don't be that stigma, okay? All right, that's it. No one's perfect. I get it. I'm not perfect. Listen, far from it, all right? Far from it. But when you're dealing with firearms and you're dealing with customers who need and rely on what you say on whether or not they purchase a firearm, you need to do your due diligence. And I think you have a responsibility to make sure that you have enough information to help them make an informed decision. Okay? All right, so listen, pick up your t-shirt. That's it. Pick up your t-shirt. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are doing well, treating one another with kindness, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks. Peace.